Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from AnthonysCustoms, and for this video, it's finally time to talk about The Walking Dead. Seems like it's been forever since the season ended, and now we have finally a new season starting up, and this is the big one. This is the one we were all waiting for. They hinted at somebody dying. I mean, we knew somebody was going to die, and so we were waiting to find out who it was, which character was going to die. A lot of people didn't like the cliffhanger at the end. Some people did. I was one of the people that didn't. I thought it was kind of a waste of a death. They could have used it as the punctuation mark. Punctuation mark? Is that the right term? I think so. Punctuation at the end of the last season. End on a death. Start with something new. That's how it works. They ended with kind of nothing. Just a hint. Some people didn't like it. And here's my thought on it. We waited all this time, and then they finally get to the episode, and they build up a little bit to it. They don't tell us right away. Most people probably wanted that. They didn't. That's okay. So they get to the death. Turns out it's Abraham. Which, yeah, he's a cool character, but I'm not sure he has the emotional impact that most characters would have had. He's relatively new to the team. He's not one of the core characters. And he's a soldier, so he's automatically got that kind of more detached character. You're not as emotionally connected to him. So, it was impactful for the story. Yeah, Negan was able to kill one of our crew, and he does it hyper brutally, so I get that. It's important for the show, but how did that make you feel? For me, I was almost like, okay, it was Abraham, right? Like, no big deal. It wasn't Maggie, it wasn't Rick, it wasn't Michonne, it wasn't one of the main core, it wasn't Glenn. Could have been anybody, but they chose Abraham. So for me, it fell a little flat. I want to know what you guys think about that. What did you think about Abraham being the death? Did it live up to what you were hoping it would be? Did it have the impact you wanted? Let me know what you think. So that's fine. But then, there's another one. They sneak another one in there, and Negan kills Glenn. Which, Glenn's one of the core people. He was a great character. I feel like he kind of waned toward the end. But they killed Glenn. So that was way more impactful, story speaking. But being not so far after the first death, I kind of feel like it didn't have the impact it needed. I feel like we were kind of already emotionally spent from the first one. Even though we weren't connected to Abraham, it was still a very visceral thing, so doing another one right afterwards, you're kind of numb to it. That's how I felt. Like, I feel like if Glenn was the first one, it would have been a way bigger deal. By a lot. And then they shouldn't have done a second one in one episode. I feel like it kind of just muted the whole thing afterwards. After the first death, there's nowhere to go with it, so you're just like, oh, he did another one. Okay, that sucks. Right? Like, I feel like they would have been way better if they took the first death, Abraham's, and ended the last season with that. People would have been really kind of shocked by it, and then we'd think, okay, well, they killed him. We'll start next season and see where it goes. Then we start the next season, and then bam, Glenn dies too. That would have been way more impactful, way more shocking. What do you guys think? How do you feel about that? I think they would have been way better off separating the two deaths rather than putting one in that wasn't quite as big of a deal, and then one that was a big deal but right after it, so you're not into it. So that's how I feel about it. I don't know. I want to know what you guys think, because I'm kind of a neutral watcher. I like the show in general, but I'm not like a fanboy of it. So I want to know, even if you are a fanboy, or even if you hate the show, if you watch it anyway, let me know what you think. I'm curious about that. One thing that did bug me, though, and I guess they had to do this to kind of show the growth of Rick and then the change from when Negan takes over, is basically Negan says, if anybody says anything, kill Carl or stab out his other eye or whatever, something like that. And then as soon as Rick gets a chance after the first death, he's like, I'm gonna kill you. Rick, shut up, all right? You're not in the position to make those kind of threats. Stop that. Even if you are that cocky about everything now. Are you that stupid? Because you're pretty stupid for doing that. Luckily, nothing happened. Nothing came of it. So that was kind of odd. But then, as if that's not enough, Daryl decides to act stupid and punches Negan. Great idea. The guy who's got a bunch of people around you with guns and a barbed wire baseball bat, who just killed one of your friends, you're just going to stand up and slug him, because that's going to save the day. I feel like it's a little heavy-handed, no pun intended. I'm not sure they would have actually done that. I get that they're reacting emotionally and without thinking, and they're in shock, but come on, like, let's just put everybody in danger, and that directly leads to Glenn dying. So I feel like they kind of forced that to happen. It didn't seem natural to me that Rick and Daryl are going to do that, just so they could facilitate Glenn's death for the 4th time, because we thought Glenn died a few times. Don't forget that. That also took away a little bit from it. Like, we've already gone through that emotional peak and valley for Glenn where we thought he was dead. At least twice, I think, now. Yeah. And so now it's kind of like, well, we've already done it. It's like getting dumped by the same girl 3 times. By the 3rd time, you don't care. You're probably a dummy, but you don't really care at that point. So, I don't know. Not that I've done that. That's never happened. Ever. But you get what I'm saying. You become emotionally desensitized to these kind of things. So having it happen, even though it didn't actually happen twice, and then finally, but right after another one, it's just, it wasn't as big deal as I thought it should be. I mean, story-wise, sure, it's going to play forward, it's going to go forward, and it's going to have an impact, but in the moment, I felt a little underwhelmed by that. I want to know what you guys think. I found that interesting, the way they chose to handle it and the way I felt about it as it was happening. So I'm curious what you guys think. Then the last thing I really want to talk about isn't much to talk about, but it was the whole thing with Carl at the end. So Negan tells Rick, you're still kind of being a butt, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to make you cut off Carl's arm, or I'm going to kill everybody. And Rick's still really not getting it. He's like, no, I don't want him to have no arm. But everyone else is going to die, and Rick still can't, he can't figure out what to do. Eventually, he's about to do it. After all this, he's about to do it. And Negan's like, no, you don't have to. It's okay. You understand now. So that's like, yeah, okay. That was kind of anticlimactic. I know everybody watching was like, yeah, cut it off, cut it off, cut it off. We don't like Carl anyway. But then he didn't cut it off. So that was a little bit of a bummer. So I want to know what you guys thought about that too. Don't you think he should have got it cut off? I think that would have been better. It would have been a nice way to end the episode. But they didn't do it. And then the very last thing, which is just kind of like a side note, in the Talking Dead show afterwards, they kept talking about how good Chandler Riggs is as Carl, and how he just sold those lines, and he did such a good job becoming the hero and saying, Dad, cut it off. Or just do it, Dad. Like, no. Carl's the weakest part of the show. Don't say he's good. None of the lines he delivered had any emotion in them at all. They're super blank, totally takes you out of the scene every time Carl talks. That's how it is for me. Let me know what you guys think about that. All right, so there it is. First episode of this season. Not a bad episode. Obviously, a lot of stuff happened. Though it was actually not a lot of stuff. It was like 2 or 3 things, and then that was it. But they were very important things. So, not a bad start. We'll see where it goes. I'm a little bit curious why nobody's just shooting Negan. Like, there's lots of people he's got control over. Just kill him. The rest of the guys will leave. They don't have any power. They're just a bunch of thugs. So I don't really get that, but we'll see. Maybe that'll happen. Maybe it'll play out that way as the season goes on. So let me know what you guys thought about the episode and about those specific things. We'll talk in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for watching.